Good evening, Don Palayo here. Today is July 18th, 2025. Back for another video. I'm hearing a lot of bad stuff right now, and I'm really starting to fear a little bit about the economic downturns we're seeing here recently. I'm sure everybody is aware of how things are feeling right now economically. The cost of living is really out of control. Um, Unfortunately, the way things are right now, um, the inflation typically hurts the poorer classes more, and it's true that our middle class is shrinking pretty bad right now. We are becoming a two class society of the haves and the have nots. Um, Something's going to have to be done in order to kind of get our economy right sized again. You know, there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed. The debt has to be tackled. The national debt. Um, the earlier we tackle it, the better it's going to be. I wish the government had not waited this long. I feel like they waited way too long to deal with it, to nip this in the bud. The way inflation is going, with inflation, the value of everything dramatically increases. The higher inflation is, the higher the cost of real estate, the cost of food, the cost of anything that you might own. The value is going to appreciate. Stocks typically, they're going to be higher due to inflation over time. And the thing is the wealthy people that own all the stuff, for the most part. It's like it's the wealthier classes that have homes, that own stocks, that own metals, everything. It's the poorer classes are just surviving paycheck to paycheck, and they have little to no assets for the most part. And this is how we see this widen. This is a real problem, and I think our politicians really need to wake up and begin to address this, because this is not healthy for our country. It's not. What's gonna wind up happening is you're gonna have more and more people in the lower rungs are gonna be demanding that government fix it, and they're gonna be electing people with rather radical ideas to try to fix it. We're already seeing some of that with, the socialists and all of that progressives. I just call them socialists, basically. I don't think that their ideas are going to work for the most part. I think this is going to compound a lot of the problems that we already have. But, we're living in a society today that we have multi-trillion-dollar companies. The companies that have just so much of this wealth. It's not even the individual, like, executives. It's not. We do have some billionaires. Elon Musk is worth what, 300 billion, 350 billion. And I know that sounds like a lot of money, but when you're talking about in the grand scheme of everything, really, it's the companies themselves where all the value, where the money is. Like, Nvidia, I think it's like $4 trillion now, and it's really generally speaking, the great majority of Nvidia is the ownership is in relatively few hands, and we've got to get to a point where people feel like they can go and gain some skills and education and earn a good living, enough to provide for a home and a family. Right now, it's just not there. It's not there. And this is a real problem. This is a real problem for our society right now, people don't feel, even with a college education, they don't feel like they can get ahead, and that's that's not a good situation we're finding ourselves in. So something's going to have to be done at some point to fix this. Um, I do think maybe some more profit sharing type in the employee compensation packages with businesses, with corporations, we could maybe see potentially more of that. Um, I'm not. I'm a capitalist at heart. I believe in the capitalist system. I just would like to see our capitalist system look more like the capitalism we had back in the 50s and 60s, and less what we see today with the this disparity that we're getting. Um, we may need to bring back the capitalism where we had more union influence, to help to help the lower classes, but we need a healthy middle class. We need more wealth and more hands. And I'm seeing videos of people, people living out of their cars, people living in storage units. People are doing whatever they have to do to try to survive right now. But I mean, do we really want citizens of our country, people that are working? These aren't people that are not working. These are people that have jobs, um, and still don't have enough money to live. Um, we got to figure this out. America should be able to do better than this, and something needs to be fixed with this, because this is not the kind of country we want to be living in. It seems like more and more Americans are choosing to move abroad, go elsewhere where the cost of living isn't so high. I don't really understand why the cost of living is so high, except for the fact that the Federal Reserve just keeps printing money. It's like we've got that can't continue. We're going to have to rein in the spending. The government is going to have to right size itself. It's going to have to. Our politicians need to get their heads out of their behinds and fix it. Cut all this extra spending out. I mean, it's just going to have to happen. I realize it's difficult with a big part of our budget, Social Security, Medicare, and paying interest on the debt. But the more we put this off, the bigger that interest payment's going to become. And it's like we're not going to have the flexibility that we need to deal with it eventually. And then what? Then what are we going to do? So this is all starting to come to a head, is what I'm trying to say for you guys. I would keep just enough money on hand to pay your bills. Have a little extra savings, maybe an extra 1,000 or two in the bank. But other than that, everything needs to be in assets, like either stocks, commodities, because you don't want to have a lot of money in dollars right now, because the dollar's getting inflated away. You need to be in assets that will appreciate along with inflation and keep pace with inflation, at least. So that's kind of how I feel about things right now. I feel like we're in a really bad spot right now, because the government doesn't have a lot of flexibility because of the debt that they've buried themselves and buried us in, the taxpayers in. The government's buried us in debt. And these politicians just have to wake up. They've got to wake up and realize that this can't go on forever. They're destroying the country, and it needs to be dealt with sooner rather than later. I do worry a little bit about some sort of uprising from the lower classes. That could potentially happen here. We might see something like that if these people at the bottom just feel like there's no point, there's nothing they can do to lift themselves up and to become, to have a decent life. These people will, either turn to crime and become a scourge on society, or they're going to elect people that they feel will right things in terms of using either socialist policies or Marxist policies to try to fix it. And that's not the answer. I know it's not, because I know how that's gone in the past. Has not worked out well if you look into other countries that have gone down that road. um and they'll tell you, oh, we just want like the European socialism. And it's like, well, first of all, they're all of the countries in Europe are capitalist countries. They have free market economies. They just choose to pay a little more tax to have the government cover things like healthcare and for most of their education expense and that sort of thing. So they just have some additional programs, really, but they're still capitalist countries. They still have a lot of. Europe's got a lot of problems too. It's like, I mean, I've been there. I lived there for 2 years. I know what the problems are in Europe. Employment's a major problem in Europe. Always has been. It was in the '90s when I went there. Um, just a lot of issues. People are just barely getting by there in Europe too. So we just can't have a society where we just have haves and have-nots. We need a middle class. We need a system that's going to lift all boats. And right here lately, it's just our system has just been raising the boats of the wealthy and powerful, unfortunately. So anyway, for those of you that are struggling out there right now, you're not alone. I think it's good. One of the good things about having access to the internet is to message back and forth with people online. Begin talking to some friends. Communicate. Maybe find some friends in your local area. I think it's good for us as people we need to be a little more social with our neighbors, get to know more people locally around us, develop some friendships, because I think we're going to need that moving into the future. Is that we're going to need to have groups of friends, have some people that we can you know lean on if things become difficult for a bit. um yeah. Anyway, the news just kind of keeps looking worse and worse in some ways. This whole I can't believe how poorly Trump has handled the Epstein thing. I've been a little bit shocked myself with this. I, for one, do not believe that Trump is in the Epstein list, mainly because if he had been, the Democrats would have used it. Because the Democrats were in there for 4 years under Biden. They had complete control for at least 2 of those years. So I don't think that Trump would have got through there unscathed if he had been in that report. So, but that just leads me to think where I come down on the Jeffrey Epstein thing is, okay, so the Democrats wouldn't release the information. Now the Republican administration is not releasing the information. That tells me that the people in those files there's probably allies and supporters of both sides. There's probably political donors, big money, wealthy, powerful people that are in the list that have donated money to both sides. And there are probably some global world leaders in there that the government feels it would hurt America to put that out there. Personally, I don't give a crap. I feel like if our government knows that there are people in those files that abused young girls. They need to bring those people to justice. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're Republicans or Democrats. I don't care if they are wealthy business owners. I don't care who it is. It doesn't. I really, honestly have no. If it's people on my side, if it's in the Republican Party, I want them to be jailed too. I don't care. This is a politically neutral issue. I think most people feel that way. We just want the people that were guilty of abusing young girls brought to justice. And period. End of story. I think that a part of it is that the government may have some information, but maybe they don't feel like they have enough information to bring charges against somebody. And if that's the case, they just need to say that, it's like, but Trump came out the other day and he's basically told his base that, just because people in his base want to hear some answers, to what's going on with the Epstein situation, that they're losers or they're weaklings and they're falling for a scam by the Democrats and they just need to shut up and stop talking about it. And I'm shocked that Trump said something like that, because it's like I just thought that Trump had a better understanding of his base than that. His base is not going to take that. His base is going to be like, they're going to push back against that. It's pretty obvious it's already happening. That's not the way to handle this situation with Epstein. If the administration doesn't feel like they can release any of the information yet, or I don't know what the situation is, but they just need to come forward in a very clear, respectable manner, tell people that, look, this is something we're working on. It's a very complicated case. We don't want to bring accusations against anyone until we have all of the evidence that we need to bring charges. I think that would be good enough for people. But to just come out and tell us all to shut up is not... That's not going to fly, Trump. I hate to tell you, it's not. That's not going to go over well. I voted for Donald Trump all 3 times, 2016, 2020, and 2024. My family did. I like a lot of the things that Trump is doing, but he is not handling the Epstein situation the right way. That at all. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. I took Monday off work. I just felt like my boss is going to be out of the office Monday. Our company is having an annual meeting in Milwaukee, and so he won't be back till Thursday. So I'm going to take Monday off as an extra day off, and I'm going to enjoy a long weekend. I was going to DoorDash tonight, but I said, you know what? I don't feel like DoorDashing. The DoorDashing has gotten a lot slower. People are not ordering as much. They're cutting back on the money they're paying out in tips. It's been very noticeable. I think it's about 50%. I think it's about half of what it was 6 months ago. So it's become noticeable. I think people are just hurting financially right now enough to where they're just having to find places to cut, and ordering DoorDash is one of those places where they're cutting. So that's okay. I've got some bills that are going to be coming off of me in the next couple of months, and a big one, the one I told you, it's I've got one bill that I'm paying $800 a month on, and that's going to be paid off at the end of August or maybe mid-September. Somewhere in that time frame, and once that's done, I'm gonna have a lot more flexibility. It's gonna make it a lot easier. I can reduce how much I'm door dashing. I still want to be hitting some financial goals. I have some goals to hit, but I'm gonna be able to start really saving some money, which I'm looking forward to, because I'll be honest, my emergency fund is not where it needs to be, and I've been really hammering away at debt for the last 2 years. And due to that, I don't have a big emergency fund right now, and I've got to get that built up, and that's going to start happening going into September. I'll begin building my emergency fund up. I just hope I can get it built up enough to where if something major happens, if my air conditioning goes out, my HVAC system, or I need to replace a roof or something like that happens, I'll have the money to deal with it. I'm really going to have to start building up some savings, so we're going to take care of that. But anyway, you guys have a great evening, Friday evening. I will probably put another video or two out this weekend. I'm really worried about the status of America right now. I'm really worried about our country right now. There's a lot of variables in the air right now, and a lot of them are not looking real positive for the country. We need something positive to happen for the country. We need something to positively change. I guess we're just gonna have to see how that's gonna look in the next 6 to 12 months. I think a lot is going to be decided over the next 6 to 12 months, I think. Anyway, you guys have a great evening. I'm kind of tired tonight. I'm going to, I don't know what I'm going to do tonight. I might lay down and take a nap. You guys, like and subscribe. I'm trying to get some more subscribers that sign up to my channel. I put this channel out here so that people have a place to come and comment about our society, our country, how things are going in your community. Let me know how you're feeling in your part of the world. I will read the comments, so I do read the comments anytime people comment on my posts. Tell me how things are in your neck of the woods. Let me know what you're thinking about the outlook of our country and any ideas that you might have. I think prepping is probably, the people that have been prepping for a while, it's probably a benefit for them. That's going to help them out. Having some extra food on hand, having some supplies on hand may turn out to be a good thing. I don't stay out very much these days because I have been noticing more and more news stories, local news stories of more and more violence happening, people being shot, different things. I wouldn't stay out past dark very much. Some people may, choose to, but it's getting a little dicey out there. So just be careful. Keep, be looking around, be mindful of your surroundings when you're out, especially at night. All right, that's it. Don't play checking out. You guys have a great evening.